Square Enix recently had their financial briefing for the end of the fiscal year of 2025, and it's basically a lot of reiteration and a little bit of updating to the investors of how they've been doing in regards to rebooting the company and focusing more on a multi-platform strategy on Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, and PC, and ultimately talk about more of their reboot strategy, as they now dub it. And on top of that, we also had some information from Yuji Horii talking about Dragon Quest XII, though it's not really much, to be honest, right there. And of course, Dragon Quest Day is around the horizon, so I might as well give you guys my predictions on that. I know I said on my Twitter that I wasn't planning to do a video, but seeing how we have a bunch of things to talk about for today, I might as well talk about it here. But of course, before we dive right in, make sure you go and hit that subscribe button. It's free, you might as well do it, and of course, I really do appreciate it. So overall, when it comes down to their years of planning of rebooting the company, they have been talking about this since last year, that they want to focus on 4 major platforms for their HD titles, and they want to move towards quality over quantity. And they intend to reboot the company within 3 years, and by the end of those years, Square Enix will be a company that fully releases multi-platform titles and focuses on quality over quantity. And they provide some examples like enhancing productivity, rebuilding domestic studios and portfolios, promote multi-platforms to the developers that this is what we're doing here. They're rolling out initiatives to create additional foundational stability, essentially just making sure that they're financially viable while at the same time they can afford to go on and reboot themselves, and hopefully by then they could be on the same level as Capcom or Sega, where they're releasing titles every year, and at the same time they're still consistently bringing in revenue for their big HD titles. And one thing they bring up is that the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to play a factor into Square Enix's strategy of becoming this multi-platform studio, as they do believe the Switch 2 is going to be a major success worldwide, and with games like Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate and Bravely Default HD Remaster, they definitely do seem a bit confident. And overall, from what I can tell, they've definitely been true to their word in regards to trying to be a more multi-platform company. For example, Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake released on Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series consoles, and PC via Steam and the Windows Store. And on top of that, they've been retroactively making their previous titles multi-platform: Trials of Mana, Legend of Mana, the Final Fantasy Pixel Remasters, Octopath Traveler 1, Octopath Traveler 2. They're all now available on all the 4 platforms they're hitting on: PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, and PC. So there's definitely been that commitment there, though I do feel that the 3-year reboot strategy might be a tad bit slow when it comes down to rebooting the company and refocusing them to be multi-platform. That's just my opinion right there, and just based on what they provide in regards to how they've been doing, I'm more than confident to see them become a multi-platform company, but we'll see how things end up. And with the 3-year plan, it's not saying that they're not releasing games within those 3 years, not at all. They're still planning to release titles in between those years of rebooting. They just want all their studios to move towards this new plan of focusing on multi-platform, focusing on quality, and less on quantity. And especially when their mobile titles are all now regulated down to 1 studio, which is actually a good move right there from Square Enix, because you have way too many studios within Square Enix making mobile titles. And of course, during the years before Takeshi Kiryu, Square Enix was a gacha making machine when it comes down to mobile titles, though because they made too much, none of them really made profit. And on top of that, they also reiterated games like Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake exceeded their expectations, and during the end of fiscal year, they were able to turn a profit. So kudos to Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake. I'm glad the game's doing well. But now let's move on to Dragon Quest XII, because Yuji Horii was interviewed by Games Reactor, and Yuji Horii had this to say: "Yes, indeed, I can't say anything, I apologize. I am making it, putting lots of work into it. I can only say that the next work will be great too. Working really hard, please look forward to it is the only thing I can say." And it's not too dissimilar to a similar comment he made back in February, where he basically stated, "Look forward to Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake, because I can't say anything about Dragon Quest XII." And this gets into the one thing I've always noticed about Square Enix and Dragon Quest, and hell, even other franchises from Square Enix, ever since I started covering the series in 2022. And that's the fact that Square Enix really doesn't like talking about far-off titles and rather likes to focus on titles that are coming out the year in. For example, in 2022, Square Enix didn't really talk about Infinity Strash, Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake, Dragon Quest XII, because during that year they were releasing titles like Dragon Quest X Offline and Dragon Quest Treasures, though more emphasis was placed on Treasures because that game was releasing worldwide. And in 2023, once again didn't talk about 3 HD 2D or 12 because they were releasing titles like Infinity Strash and Monsters the Dark Prince. And in 2024, again, they focused only on 3 HD 2D Remake, though they did announce that 1 and 2 would get an HD 2D Remake treatment. And of course, here we are now, 2025, they're not talking about 12, they're mostly talking about 1 and 2 HD 2D. It's been a trend, and it's not just relegated to Dragon Quest. For the KH fans out there, you guys know that they barely talked about KH4, they announced it, haven't talked about it since because they were talking about another title from the KH series called Missing Link, to which went out and got cancelled yesterday, only for Square Enix to post images of KH4. And that kind of proves right there that seeing how there was no other games in the pipeline for the KH series, they were free to go on and talk about KH4 because the one game in between was cancelled. And this has been a trend that I've noticed with Square Enix, aside from Final Fantasy, just simply because of the fact that they release all these damn titles for the series, whether it's spin-off, FF7 Remake, FF16, you name it, they just constantly pump out Final Fantasy content. That it doesn't really make sense to focus on one game at a time like you can with Dragon Quest or Kingdom Hearts. It's something I've noticed, and I'm pretty sure as we move over to Dragon Quest Day that we'll barely get much information on 12. If possible, we could see something, but I highly doubt it. I think most of the focus will be on Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake, and potentially some updates on Switch 2, seeing how during the Switch 2 Direct, Dragon Quest was nowhere to be seen there. And I do feel, seeing how Dragon Quest Day is so close to the Switch 2, that they might give some information on some few titles for Switch 2. Which is most likely going to be that a handful of titles will get the Switch 2 treatment, as in getting a patch update or an upgrade pack. And I do believe these titles will be Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake, Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D, and Dragon Quest XI's will probably get a Switch 2 version as well. And the only reason I suspect 11S will get that Switch 2 treatment is simply because not too long ago, Square Enix bought back the publishing rights of 11S worldwide from Nintendo. It happened around February. The game got delisted for about a month before it came back online, and we found out that it was no longer being published by Nintendo, but rather Square Enix. And for anyone curious of what I think could be added into these Switch 2 versions of 11S, 3 HD 2D, and 1 and 2 HD 2D, probably just better resolutions, frame rate, basically just that. And I really do hope these upgrades are free upgrades and not paid upgrades for $10, simply because seeing how what I believe to be are just resolution updates and frame rate updates, yeah, not really enough for me to go on and pay $10. And like I said, regarding 12, we could see it at Dragon Quest Day, we could not. Seeing how there's some rumors going around that there's going to be another Nintendo Direct in June, maybe we could see it then, who knows? It could be an announcement of, hey, we're working on 12, stay tuned for more information in June. It could happen, but I'm not holding my breath. And that's all I have for today's video, just mostly things talking about their financials, Dragon Quest XII, the nothing information we have there, and of course some predictions I have for Dragon Quest Day. But before I close it off, I just want to update you guys a little bit of where I've been, because obviously in April I mostly just did some live streams here and there, and I haven't really been posting that many videos in a while. I do apologize for the fact that I haven't been on for a bit. It's just been the fact that I've been mostly busy with school, and on top of that, I haven't really been that motivated to make more videos. There are some behind the scenes stuff that happened, I don't really want to get into it, nor do I want to devolve into that kind of stuff. It is what it is when it comes down to those things happening. But hopefully now we can make more videos down the line. I'll probably be making my thoughts on Dragon Quest Day when that comes around. I'm probably going to do some Switch 2 videos because I already have the system pre-ordered, and that's probably going to do pretty well in viewership. So hopefully down the line, I don't disappear like I did back in April. But anyways, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Plus, don't forget to leave this video a like and subscribe as well. And of course, if you want to see more videos, do check out these videos right here. I personally think you'll enjoy them. See you guys on the next one. Take care.